Fungi in the Biosphere. Fungi in the Biosphere. We interact with fungi in many ways. Of primary importance is the role of fungi in ecosystem services. All life depends on fungi, and fungi connect all living things by recycling organic matter. The following slides depict the many ways that fungi are integral to the biosphere. Decomposition. Fungi are crucial for recycling the elements of life. They decompose dead organisms, breaking down the nutrients and returning carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur to the environment to be taken up by producers. Ecosystems rely on decomposers to recycle the elements of life. Mushrooms growing on and decomposing wood are macroscopic evidence of fungi's service to ecosystems. Hyphae grow throughout decaying organic matter. The following slide shows images of this process. Fungi in the Biosphere. Decomposition. Below are images showing various fungi decomposing plant matter, such as wood and leaves, and in all these pictures, the fungi need a damp, moist environment with not as much sunlight because fungi grow best under these conditions. Fungi in the Biosphere. Symbiosis. Many fungi have symbiotic relationships with other organisms. The roots of most vascular plants, that's those plants that could transport water through the roots and nutrients up through the stem, they live in symbiosis with specialized hyphae called mycorrhizae and depend on them for nutrients. The plant nourishes the fungus with the products of photosynthesis. The mycorrhizae process soil minerals and phosphate ions and deliver them efficiently into the plant roots. Fungi in the Biosphere. Symbiosis. In the photograph below, bushy mycorrhizae are wrapped around the cell membranes of onion root cells, and molecules and ions are transported between the cells, across their membranes. Some insects, such as leafcutter ants, have a mutualistic relationship with fungus. Leafcutter ants are unable to digest most of the plant matter in their environment because the leaves have toxins and indigestible polysaccharides. Leafcutter ants tend fungus gardens in their colonies. They feed leaves to the fungus, and the fungus digests the plant matter for the ants. Ants eat the fungus, which is filled with digested nutrients. In the photo below, you can see green leaves being digested by white fungus, and ants tending that relationship. Fungi in the Biosphere. Communication. The mycelia of the forest soil connect the roots of trees in an elaborate network, allowing them to share chemical messengers and ions. This is one mode of communication between trees that enhances their survival. Chemical communication through microscopic networks of mycelia allow trees to coordinate their defenses against parasites, pests, herbivores, and competition. Fungi in the Biosphere. Communication. The image on the left shows a cross-section of a tree seedling growing with its roots surrounded by a mycelial network. The mycelial network is critical for supplying nutrients to the forests and supporting chemical communication between trees. These networks are below your feet in every healthy forest. Fungi in the Biosphere. Primary succession. Primary succession is the development of an ecosystem starting on bare rock. Primary succession begins with colonialization of abiotic environments by lichens. Lichens are made up of two symbiotic species, a fungus and a photosynthetic species. The most common lichens are made up of a fungus and an algae, or a fungus and a cyanobacterium. Fungi in the Biosphere. Primary succession. The photosynthetic organisms supply the products of photosynthesis to the fungi, and the fungi process rock minerals and make them accessible to the photosynthetic organisms. These symbionts are the first to introduce organic matter to an abiotic environment. When they die, they decompose to become soil, preparing the area to be colonized by more microorganisms and plants. As the ecosystem develops, many species of fungi will contribute to its health and balance. There are 3 lichens visible in the photograph on the right. Can you spot all 3 of them? Fungi and humans. Fungi and humans interact directly, as well, in both helpful and pathogenic ways. 4 ways in which fungi and humans interact include 1. The consumption of fungi for food. 2. Using fungi to make and preserve food. 3. Using fungi to produce antibiotics. And 4. Coping with pathogenic fungi. Fungi in humans. 1. We eat mushrooms, which are the large fruiting bodies of hyphae organisms. We can also eat truffles, but these grow underground and are more difficult to find. 2. We use fungi to make food and preserve food. Unicellular fungi, called yeast, are used to make bread, beverages, cheese, and yogurt. Yeast are facultative anaerobes, meaning they can carry out aerobic respiration in the presence of oxygen and fermentation in the absence of oxygen. When they use the fermentation pathway to generate ATP and NADH, the byproducts are CO2 and ethanol, which has 2 carbons, CH3, CH2OH. Ethanol is a psychoactive ingredient in alcoholic beverages. Examples of making fermented foods with fungi include A. Strains of baker's yeast or brewer's yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, are used to make bread, wine, and whiskey. B. Saccharomyces pastorianus is the yeast most commonly used to make beer. C. Aspergillus and Rhizopus are fungi used in the fermentation of soy products, giving them complex flavors and long shelf lives. 3. Molds are sources of antibiotics. Penicillin, for example, is a naturally occurring product of penicillium, which the mold uses as a defensive toxin to prevent bacterial infection. These antibiotics can be produced and are used to cure bacterial infections in humans. 4. Fungi can be pathogenic. Fungi can infect plants, animals, and other fungi, absorbing nutrients from their living cells. A. Emergent fungal infections of staple crops threaten our food supply. B. Deadly emergent fungal diseases have recently caused great decreases in bat populations and amphibian populations, disrupting food webs. 4. Pathogenic fungi. Continued. C. Humans can be infected with fungi. For example, ringworm is a skin disease with itchy rashes that can be caused by about 40 different species of fungus. D. Candida albicans is a type of yeast that causes common infections. Thrush is overgrowth of C. albicans in the mouth or throat. Vaginal yeast infections are also caused by C. albicans. To treat fungal infections, antifungal medicines can be used. They often target chitin in fungal cell walls, and so they cannot harm our cells, which do not make chitin.